Welcome to A Changed Life. This is a podcast about choosing differently, how you think, how you relate, and how you lead yourself. Here we focus on the inner shifts that create real momentum and open up what's possible next. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Ilyse. And if you are here every week, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And if you are new here, then I want to welcome you. And I'm so glad that you found your way to the podcast. Before I get into today's episode, I want to say something that I don't usually say. In fact, I don't think that I've ever said this yet. This episode is a little different. There is a lot of context here. Context around betrayal and relationships, around the effects that deception has on two people who are trying to figure out whether they can actually rebuild something real. And if you're new to my world, if we've never worked together, if you've never heard me speak before, some of what I'm about to share is going to be new. It might even challenge some things you've already been told. So I'm going to suggest something. You might want to listen to this more than once and let it settle. And if you're in a relationship where betrayal has happened, I want to strongly encourage you to share this episode with your partner and have a real conversation about it. Not a fight, just a conversation about it. Because this episode was actually built for both of you. Whether you're the one who was deceived or the one who caused the damage, I truly see you. And I have something that I want to say to both of you today in this episode. So I want to start with something that might seem small and insignificant, but it's actually everything. And that's language. In the betrayal recovery world, online and in therapy offices and support groups and books, you'll hear two words used constantly to describe the two people in this situation: the betrayed and the betrayer. And I want to tell you why I don't use those words and why I think that they're actually keeping people stuck. Here's what I know from neurolinguistic programming, the study of how the words we use shape our experience of reality. Words are not neutral. They don't just describe our situation, they anchor us to it. So when someone identifies as the betrayed, when they raise their hand and say, yes, that's who I am, that word is a past tense identity. It's something that happened to them being carried into the present and the future as a definition of who they are. Linguistically, it pins them and anchors them to the moment of impact. And the word betrayer, that's a verb masquerading as a noun. It's active. It's moving. It describes an action that is being projected forward into time. So when you have one person anchored in the past and the other person, even unintentionally, being described in the present tense, one identity is frozen, that being the betrayed, and the other is in motion. That is not healing language. That's staying stuck language. So in my work, I use different words. Now, it's not to say I don't ever say the word betrayed and that I don't ever say the word betrayer. Of course I do. But when I'm working with people, I have different phrases and different ways to identify each person in the situation. And to be honest with you, to be transparent with you, I never identified as the betrayed person, and I have been betrayed, and I've had professional betrayal and I've had romantic betrayal, but I never identified myself as a betrayed person. So stay with me here. The person who was deceived, the one who had their reality stolen, their consent removed, their trust broken. I call them the reclaiming partner, because that is what they are doing. They are reclaiming their voice. They are reclaiming their identity. They're reclaiming their sense of reality. They are reclaiming their future. They are in motion. They are active. They are not defined by what happened to them. They are defined by what they are doing about it. And the one who caused the damage, the one who lied and deceived, the one who made choices that broke the very foundation of the relationship, I call them the repairing partner. Because if they are in this, if they are showing up, if that is what they're doing, they are repairing. Present tense, active, accountable, and in motion. Both people in the present. Both people moving forward. That's not me being soft on what happened or trying to bypass it or make light of it. That's me being really serious about where we're going. And respectfully, therapy is important, it is valuable, it is meaningful, it helps hundreds of millions of people. And also, therapy is rooted in the past. And it often anchors people to the retelling and the constant and the almost never-ending processing of the past. And again, you can see where the problem lies. So I want to paint a picture for you. I want you to imagine a pendulum. You know what a pendulum looks like, right? That slow, heavy swing from one side to the other side. And in a relationship where there's been betrayal that has happened, whether it's been going on for months or years, that pendulum has been swung hard to one side. The repairing partner was operating in a world of their own making, their needs, their secrets, their deception, their choices, their reality. The reclaiming partner often didn't even know that the pendulum had moved. That's the nature of deception. You don't know what you don't know. And then discovery happens. Everything breaks open. And for couples who decide to step into the arena and actually do this work, and I have an enormous respect for anyone who makes that choice, because it is one of the hardest things a human being can do. When discovery happens, the pendulum swings hard all the way to the other side. And in the beginning, during discovery and in the triage phase, that makes complete sense. The reclaiming partner needs to be centered. Their pain needs to be witnessed. Their questions need to be answered. Their reality needs to be validated after potentially years and sometimes decades of having it denied. That pendulum being on their side in the early stages is not just understandable, it is necessary. But here is what I need you to hear. A relationship cannot survive long-term with the pendulum swung all the way to one side permanently. And for the couples that are doing this work, you know that that's true because it was swung all the way to one side. And what happened? The bottom fell out and the cards collapsed. Now it's swung all the way to the other side. It is not sustainable. And attempting to sustain it will not create the safe, rebuilt relationship that you are both working so hard toward. What it's going to create, and I've seen this in the work that I've done with couples more times than I can count, is a repairing partner who has been so completely stripped of any voice, of any needs, of any sense of personhood in the relationship, that they even begin to develop an emotional secret life, not physical, not with another person, emotional, a place inside themselves where they go because there's nowhere safe to go inside the relationship. That is not repair. That is a new problem wearing the clothes of accountability. Here's where I need to bring in some neuroscience because I think it explains something that people misunderstand about the repairing partner. The behaviors that cause this damage, the acting out, the deception, the double life, all the integrity abuse, all the lies, all of it, whatever form that it took, those behaviors were producing brain chemicals, dopamine, adrenaline, the neurological rush of secrecy and novelty and risk. The brain doesn't care whether the source of the chemicals is healthy or destructive. It just knows it was getting them, and now it's not. So I want you to think about a child, a toddler, who has a pacifier taken away, or a comfort, their blankie, or a toy that they carry everywhere. You don't just remove it and expect them to regulate themselves all by themselves in a vacuum. You give them something else to replace it, something that helps them self-soothe in a new way while their nervous system learns a new normal. The repairing partner needs the same thing. You cannot simply remove the behavior, cut off the chemical source, and then expect recovery work alone to fill that gap. So if you're listening to this and you're walking this walk right now and you have good days or weeks and then you have setbacks, or good days or weeks and then there's new information or there's a slip or there's a relapse, I want you to see whether or not what I'm talking to you about today applies. Because by looking at that and working on that together, it can make such an incredible difference in the long-term recovery and sustainability of the relationship. Recovery work lives largely in the logical brain. And the brain that got hijacked by these behaviors was not the logical brain. It was the emotional brain. It was the survival brain, the part that responds to sensation and feeling and physical experience. So what actually works is replacing those chemicals with something healthy: running, breath work, cold plunges, saunas, meditation, physical movement that generates real neurochemical responses. Things that create genuine feeling, not numbing, not escaping, but feeling in a way the body can recognize. This is not optional. This is actually biology. And here's why this matters for the reclaiming partner to hear. Because I know some of you are listening to this and feeling something tight in your chest. Why should I care about what they need? They didn't care about what I needed. And I hear you. I get it. That is completely valid and human response. But consider this. If the repairing partner has no outlet, no needs met, no personhood acknowledgement, no neurochemical replacement for what was removed, the risk of relapse goes way up. Not because they're weak, because the brain will find a way. It will fight for a way to get what it's looking for. It always does. So, as the reclaiming partner, something that you can integrate, and both reclaiming and repairing, because it's not the reclaiming partner's responsibility to manage this and to take care of this. But when you're in a relationship, you want to be able to support your partner's ability to regulate. That's not a gift to them. It is an investment in the relationship that you are trying to build. You're not doing them a favor. You are literally making an investment by supporting, by suggesting, by backing them up in this way. So if they are learning meditation, or if they're starting to do cold plunge, or if they're starting to do breath work or any kind of body work, to be in support, to understand that this is a very, very important part of recovery. I want to name something directly now. There is a version of betrayal recovery that has become almost culturally accepted, where the repairing partner is expected to have no needs, full stop, where they are in a permanent state of penance, where every need they express is met with, you don't get to have needs after what you did. And I want to say this really clearly. That's not recovery. That is punishment. And punishment does not rewire a brain. It does not build safety. It does not create the conditions for genuine change. What it creates is shame. And shame drives people underground. It does not bring them into the light. The goal is not to make the repairing partner suffer enough to prove that they're sorry. The goal is to replace maladjusted behavior with healthy behavior, to build a new identity that doesn't need the old escape route, to create a relationship where both people actually exist. That is what changed lives are made of. So if you are the reclaiming partner, I see how hard this is. I see what it costs you to still be in this. Your pain is real and it matters. And you're allowed to take up space, a lot of space, with your feelings. And I'm also asking you to consider that the pendulum finding the middle is not a loss for you. It's where you both actually get to live fully. If you're the repairing partner, I see you too. I see the weight of what you're carrying. And I want you to know that doing this work, really doing this work, means you need to be a functioning human being inside of it. Take care of your nervous system. Replace the chemicals. Show up not just as someone in permanent apology, but as someone genuinely building something new from the inside out. The middle of the pendulum is not weakness. It's where real relationships live and can be sustained. I am Ilyse Craft. This is a Change Life podcast. Share this one. It might be the conversation someone really needed to have. And I will see you next week. If something in today's episode resonated with you, you'll find a link in the show notes to book a free consultation call. Or you can visit ElyseCraft.com to explore my programs and free resources. Nothing changes until you do. And when you do, everything does. This is a changed life. Not all at once, but for good.